The biggest issue with modern people is we've overly domesticated ourselves.
Welcome back to Common Denominator. I'm your host, Moshe Popak. My guest, Aaron Alexander, he's the founder of the Align Method, host of the massively successful Align podcast, and a leading voice in health, movement, and holistic wellness. Aaron has worked with everyone from pro athletes to top entrepreneurs, teaching how to posture, breathe, and presence can transform not just your body, but your leadership, your business, and your life. Tell us why acceptance is so hard.
You genuinely are not going to change until pain of staying the same is greater than the pain of changing. If I'm chronically contracted in resistance, then I will create stasis. Stasis creates toxicity. Toxicity creates disease. Faith is challenging because it requires vulnerability. And vulnerability is challenging because it requires the potential to get hurt. And being able to put yourself in that place is actually like incredibly courageous. You will need to reverse engineer the castles and the empires that you build because you'll be unfulfilled and you will have to seek out your second mountain.
Hi, Aaron, and welcome to Common Denominator.
Thanks for having me, bro. Appreciate it.
So I love the concept of alignment. It's really been speaking to me a lot lately. For you, what does the alignment method mean to you?
Align Method is a book I wrote 6 years ago, and originally the publishers kind of pressured me to make it be a method. So it's more of a philosophy than anything, and the philosophy is around movement, and the way you move in your daily life is all a part of your training. So we think of our training to be relegated into you're at a gym, you're at a yoga studio, you have a trainer with you. That's the time to pay attention. Your body has no idea whether you're in a gym or a yoga studio. It's always constructing itself 100% of the time. And every moment through the philosophy of the Align Method is an opportunity to develop yourself. So you could think of that from like a self-development lens of like the way that you think, the language that you use. You're casting spells upon yourself. So you're always cultivating yourself and growing into who you are becoming based off of the thoughts that you're thinking, the way that you communicate. It's also the same with the way that you move. So you wouldn't be paying attention to your language just when you're talking to your wife, or just when you're in a board meeting, or just when you're talking to your kid. Like, cool, this is the time I pay attention to the way I communicate and the way that I think. The rest of the time, I just say, screw it. Right. So what I do with Align is educate people on the fundamental principles on how to move well throughout their life, not just when they're training.
So someone's misaligned.
Yeah.
And what is misaligned? Well, maybe you could tell us, what does misalignment look like? And then what does alignment look like? And what are the steps that they can take practically to get them aligned?
Misalignment would be inflammation, would be anxiety, would be depression, would be obesity, would be any form of like friction in yourself, in your relationship to your life, non-acceptance. That would be in a place of your misalignment. Right? You're fighting against your present experience. You're fighting against your body. You're fighting against, maybe you are expressing some form of dis-ease in your body. Maybe you have acne. Maybe you are holding on to fat. Maybe you have, so whatever the disease is. And you're like fighting it. That's a bad thing to resist. Okay, cool. So you're in misalignment somewhere. There is a core root somewhere within yourself that is kind of holding that up. It's like bolstering that. And whatever the symptoms that you're expressing, it's your body trying to take care of itself. It's your body trying to compensate in order to like hold itself together. And so I think the first thing is just coming into acceptance. And so that would be the first step. If you're in a relationship with someone and there's something that you're like, when you do this thing, I get really angry.
Yeah.
That person is doing that thing because it's their strategy to survive, and it pisses you off. So if you keep judging that person and saying, you do this thing, therefore you're lazy, you're stupid, you're annoying, you're this, you're just kind of layering in more poison into that relationship. And so the first place to start, I think, is to come into a place of being in acceptance of yourself. It's a really big deal, man. Yeah, we're always trying to change. It's annoying. It's obnoxious. It's tiring.
I think that we're all born perfect. And people that we've trusted through life have told us belief systems. And we believe them. And because they're not in accordance with what's going on now, you talk about that friction,
Mm-hmm.
right? So
Yeah.
I think of step one, surrender, right? Have you suffered enough to begin the journey of surrender and acceptance? But tell us why acceptance is so hard.
Well, what you just said is cool, because you generally are not going to change until, how do they say it? Until the pain of staying the same is greater than the pain of changing. And so that's usually the way it works. We're very stubborn people. We're setting our patterns, and most of our patterns are actually imprinted upon us at a very young age. So from 0 to around age 7, you're pretty much in a hypnotic state. So your brain waves from 0 to age like 2 to 3 are in delta. So it's like you're literally living a dream. And then from 3 to like 6, 7 time frame, you're mostly in theta, which is more of like this in-between dream waking state. So you are in a hypnotic space. So you are at the whim of all of the subconscious energetic patterns of your parents and your environment. Maybe you grew up in Afghanistan and there's bombs and things happening. Maybe you're a refugee. Maybe you grew up in seemingly a really beautiful, sweet, perfect, quaint house. The lawn is mowed. You have a picket fence. You have a golden retriever. But there's a lot of emotional baggage that your parents just really don't have the tools to work with. Maybe your dad's an alcoholic. Maybe your mom has an eating disorder. They're very loving towards you, but there's emotional content that they still hold that are being subtly, subconsciously imprinted upon you. And you are just kind of going through your life receiving all of that information. And then you grow up and you're holding that information. And that information could manifest as self-judgment. That information it also could manifest as just like having a great attitude. And I think that our traumas are actually the things that are our gifts, and our traumas also can destroy us. So you either make it through to the other side, then it's your greatest gift to offer the world. I'm sure that's what you're doing in your own life. It's what anybody that provides any value is doing. Or you suffer and you hurt yourself and you go deeper into addiction, you do that, and maybe you don't make it in this life. And then depending upon your belief system, whatever happens after that, reincarnation, whatever, heaven, hell, whatever your story is. But if you do look at that trauma actually as the greatest opportunity for success and brilliance and greatness, and you can really truly come into like, wow, all this pain that I'm experiencing, I didn't feel that way, but it's actually my gift. It just hasn't expressed yet because I haven't made it all the way through it. And so there's the availability, even with the friction or misalignment that you're experiencing, there is the availability to come into a meta awareness, like a 30,000 foot view of like, oh, cool. Like I'm in school right now. Like I'm learning. This sucks. This is hard. But the fact that I'm in this place and it's so challenging and the weight on the barbell is so heavy, it's some indication from the universe or God or whatever that like my soul is ready for this level of torment in this life. And on the other side of this, because the bar is so heavy, I'm actually going to come out and I'm going to have a much greater gift than I would had I not experienced that pain. Okay, that could open up the door into acceptance for these things that are so impossible to accept in this moment.
The highest performers we've had, many, many on the show. And I feel it's just like this moment where one moment's like this, it's like Eckhart Tolle when you see, and then it's literally here in the mind. And it just shifts. Mm-hmm. And you're living in a complete state of bliss and nothing actually happened in the physical world. Mm. You just changed, accepted.
Mm. And bliss, if you're married and attached to the concept of, your perspective of what bliss means, that will also lead to friction and misalignment and torment. So bliss is sadness, bliss is anger, bliss is rage, bliss is orgasms, bliss is waking up in the middle of the night and frustrated or anxious about a thing, and being able to come back and still have that awareness of like, okay, cool, like the Aaron is anxious, okay, great, like can I have compassion for myself in this experience? The Aaron is judging himself, okay, cool. Can I be an integrated adult mother, father, integration for myself in that moment and say like, oh, cool. Like I still love you. And like, oh, cool. You're overeating some sugary BS snack at 3 a.m. and, you're anxious about whatever's happening and you have a flight at 6 a.m. and, you're going to be sleepless or sleep deprived and all that stuff. Like, cool. Like I still love you.
I know with myself, there'll be days where the old version of myself would be like, oh, I'm failing
Exactly.
that day. But to your point, have a little bit of ease
Yeah.
with yourself. Some days are better, some days are worse, but in that perspective, right?
But it doesn't mean give every kid on the field a medal. There's also rewarding excellence and rewarding like, dang, like you really put the work in and like, that's legit. Like this is where we're going. Like there is a point of the spear, there is a vector, there is directionality, like that works.
Yeah.
And if you're kind of lagging in the back of the pack, I don't need to call you a fat piece of crap. I can be like, hey, like what's going on at home? My personal chosen belief, which I think is just the objective reality of things. I think all things are rooted in love. And then atop of love is all of the compensatory strategies and ways that we guard ourselves, protecting that vulnerable version of yourself. At some point you got hurt, then you got strong and aggressive. Some point you got hurt, then you got wealthy. Because you're like, no one will ever hurt me if I have enough money that I can do whatever I want. I'm independent. I'm like this lone wolf. And so underneath that, like most of the people that are the biggest, strongest, most, potentially lethal people on the planet, a lot of those people had issues with their fathers, or they had some type of threat or danger that now they're really brilliantly kind of compensating around. And then the next stage of that, or like wealthy people as well, there's like this insatiable thirst. I need more. Okay, cool. I reached my goal. I got $1 million. I finally got $1 million. Okay, cool. Now I need 2.5. Okay, I got 2.5. This is cool for 6 seconds. I need 10. Once I get 10, then I'm safe. I get to 10. Okay, cool. And it's just this ongoing thing. So play the game brilliantly, but do not allow yourself to become the game, because then you're actually incredibly vulnerable.
Jokic, he won the NBA MVP, and it was just this great position. He's from Serbia. Imagine 450 people playing, number one in the NBA, wins the finals, and he says, when's the parade? Because I got to go back to Serbia to watch the chariot racing with like my family. I love that. And I just saw the Kelsey Brothers podcast. They just had Taylor Swift, and someone pointed out something really nice about that. She works extremely hard, right? I actually took my daughters to see them in Zurich when I was in Switzerland last year. It's a 3-hour show, and she did about 150 of them. This kind of ease, presenting herself, but she's working extremely hard.
Yeah.
Takes her hours to come down after the show, and what she puts her body, mind, soul into. But like that's the level that I think about. What is the process with the body? Let's say you're misaligned. I know you talk about breath work and posture, sleep. Why are those things so important, and how can we begin to do better with them?
The first thing with, quote unquote alignment would be nature aligns you pretty darn well. The biggest issue with modern people is we've overly domesticated ourselves. We're just in houses too much. We're in buildings too much. We're, right now we're over 100 feet up off of the ground. We're bombarded by like all of these lights. These are good. That's an incandescent bulb. That's way actually better for your nervous system. This room, you guys did a very good job. Like coming into this room, it feels nice. I've done interviews on different people's, like an example is on the Tom Bilyeu podcast. Like the way his set feels is it feels very sterile, bright, loud. It's like, and the lights are very bright and they're right in your eyes. And that affects your autonomic state. It makes you a little like more triggered. You're like, okay, I hope I did a good job. If you come into a place, and that's because your eyes are neurological tissue. So your eyes are continuous with your brain. So when you are receiving blue light, which is the frequency of light coming off of like the sun during the day and the lights in your house and all that stuff, they're high frequency light, meaning the waves go like that instead of going long, slow, methodical type waves. That's in the reds and the infrared. So when you're around those high frequency lights, it actually wakes you up. It actually causes your brain and your body to stimulate some of those hormones and neurochemicals that wake you up, cortisol, norepinephrine, et cetera. When you come into the reds and the infrareds, such as these incandescent bulbs, can you feel that? Like in this room, it's more chill.
Yes,
right?
I feel
in layman's
relaxed.
terms, it's cool, it's more chill. Lights is one of the biggest things you can do. So what I'm saying is, how do you kind of align your physiology? You don't need to do anything. Adjust your environment. same thing with like raising a child, just like, what are their parents like? What's the environment like that they're growing up in? It's just like they need to do anything. It's very hard if they go back to that same container, like the energetics of the home that they come from is having the biggest imprint, positive, negative, whatever. And so something that you can do to your own home or to your own office or your podcast studio, the lights, if you want a chill, relaxed, kind of easeful, autonomic state, get incandescent bulbs, reds, things like that. Activating your senses is the most important thing. So light would be a really good one. Next would be the way that you are moving is going to be dictated by the visual cues in your environment. If you come into your house and the only thing you have a dinner table, you've got 6 chairs sitting around the dinner table, they've got arm things, so you're never going to be able to cross your legs or anything like that. Then you have a couch, and then you have a coffee table, and that's pretty much it. So your place is it's a little tight, and it's just sitting spots. You just have a few sitting 90-degree angle sitting spots. That's what you do. And you go to your car. Car's another sitting spot, 90-degree sitting spot. Then you maybe take a subway at some point or a bus or a flight, another sitting spot. So your whole damn life as a modern person is just going from sitting spot to sitting spot. Yeah. It's disgusting. Like your modern ancestors would be like, what? And then you're spending most of the time staring into a phone, staring into a screen, hunting and gathering. It's sad. If you were to take that as far as like the potential, like the proprioceptive, animalistic, carnal potential of the human being, we now hunt and gather from what would appear to be sick positions. If you were to see any animal in those positions for the amount of time that humans spend in that position each day, the only explanation is they're sick. It's the only explanation. Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah. No, I've seen it. I'm very familiar because if you think of, there's many things that I have with schools and education. It's also, right, Industrial Revolution happens. They create these schools. A lot of kids were homeschooled beforehand, 100 years ago, but now you're teaching the kids. Also, they're just sitting there.
You teach them how to be gears.
That's right.
Yeah, cool. Just be a good gear.
That's right.
Oh, your gear is kind of a little bit, you've got more of a dynamic gear thing going on. You need medication.
Yeah.
Right? I think you have a Ritalin deficit disorder. We need to get more Ritalin in you. Yeah. So you don't fit in the gear system, which is cool. Just follow suit. Just be a part of this, be a part of the gears. If you start to come out, it's like, no, I have some different ideas. Like think like Jake Paul. Jake Paul doesn't make sense in school. So you could see him as being someone that's like, oh, he's a problem. This is not good. We need to suppress this. He really needs Ritalin. Like he's hyperactive. This is a problem. Now he's one of the wealthiest 26-year-old kids on the freaking planet. He's a problem. He doesn't work in this system. So we kind of have this like tall poppy syndrome thing where there's kind of like a fear of the gears that don't work. And so I think if we can start, maintain the lens of like, no, like you are magic, son. Like how do we cultivate and realize that you as a young child, you're kind of closer to God than all of us. So how can we learn from you and keep you safe and kind of cultivate these embers instead of trying to suppress you and make you be adult too soon?
I tell people, plenty of adults, it's the children are right, not us. I don't know if you know, and I learn from them all the time. I have 11 children.
You're like Elon Musk. How many has he got?
I think he's got 14, maybe something like that. Yeah, it's something like that. And
that's good.
But I'm constantly learning from them, and I switched them all to a new school. What did I love? If you were to see the way I lit up in 2 minutes when I walked to the new school, no shoes. My son is a million miles an hour, super smart. And their first hour, they're playing music. Everyone's on beanbags, hanging out. Oh, cool.
That's great.
Just natural landscaping as outdoor area.
Amazing.
And I'm like, okay, freedom, creativity, like music, happiness. You want your kid to glow and be happy.
Yeah, compared to I want to own my kid.
Right. I think parents should think about that.
They could think about that.
Right. That's true.
What do you think of should as a word? You don't care?
As a word?
Yeah.
Well, when I married my wife, my in-laws and my wife, they speak Russian. So when I think of curse words, so the thing that when you said that word to me, So curse words in Russian sound much, much better and much more intense. So that's like where my mind went. Not that, I don't know, that doesn't really affect me. So there's like curse words in Russian, which is like generations before and generations after, everything you've known shall all burn and die in the grave, and like intense, crazy stuff. But so English curse words don't really. Yeah.
Are you saying shit is a curse word?
I mean, that's the way my belief system is. Let's put it that way.
What do you mean?
Right?
Say more. How should a curse word to you?
Well,
it's kind of a curse word to me, honestly. It's more of a curse word than fuck, that's for sure.
Right. Meaning, I guess I associate it with something happened bad. Maybe, so that's not good energy. Maybe if I'm going to analyze it like that.
What do you think happens to a person when you present, you should be doing this, compared to you could be doing this?
The whole nervous system relaxes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the should is a judgment and it's a shame.
Yeah.
The could is it's an invitation, it's an opening. And so what happens in your autonomic system, auto just means like it's like the your nervous system that's happening in the background. When you're in an environment, which our language is kind of like a container that we hold ourselves within, like abracadabra, so like we're speaking ourselves into reality. We're speaking our relationships into reality. We're speaking our business into reality. Everything in this room started off at one point as an idea that manifested into a word, that manifested into a material. It's crazy. And so if at the root of things, if the way that we're communicating is coming from a judgment and a shaming, my belief is it will probably create more of like a contraction. So I do, I've done body work and training with people for the last 20 years. So I've done, I've worked with some of the greatest athletes of all time, worked with some of like the most notable celebrities and such of all time. And I'm very grateful for those opportunities. And in that realm, what we're doing is or a body worker, trainer, manual therapist, physical therapist, they're presenting new invitations and opportunities for that body and that nervous system ultimately to be able to choose another path. They're coming to me because they want to choose another path. So they're already primed. And the more of an authority they can perceive me to be, the more power I have, which is an interesting thing. So a lot of things, conversations and everything is kind of like this voodoo shaman thing. The more you believe I have the keys to whatever your issue is, the more I actually have the keys to whatever your issue is, because you actually have the keys to whatever your issue is.
Of course. It's purely belief systems. The more and more I see it, and the more you peel back the layers, I'm going more and more in the space because I've seen the things that I work on never work out. And the things that I allow to happen, truly allow to happen, meaning, again, that acceptance. I accept that whatever's meant to be will be. Right? You create the vessel to the best of your ability, but you don't, again, no with judgment, no with contracting, nothing. And surrender, right?
Yeah.
It's easier for other people to come into that space. It's not full. That's kind of the way I'm trying more and more, not trying, I am more and more being.
Oh, that's good. Good language.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. The trying. So what the trying does to me, now we're just, drifting off into like, shitting on language, but trying to me creates space.
Yeah.
So I either am or I am not. Yoda.
Yeah.
Right? There is no try. There's only do or not do.
Yeah.
That's meaningful because as we're continually talking our reality into existence. We're thinking our reality into existence and we're talking our reality into existence. I'm trying to do this. Cool. You'll never do it. Like as long as you're trying, you can't, like it's impossible. I'm trying to, great. You're not there. I'm doing my best. That's honest. Yeah. Like I'm cool. Like that's all you can do. That's amazing. The rest is up to God or universe or whatever your belief system is. But to be able to do that, I think it requires faith, and faith is challenging because it requires vulnerability, and vulnerability is challenging because it requires the potential to get hurt. And being able to put yourself in that place is actually like incredibly courageous, but it's freaking terrifying because if you're actually truly in a place of I'm like in process with this. This is by no means I've like transcended whatever. This is like my daily journey. But I think really most things or maybe everything energetically comes back to like, can you have that faith that this actually is happening perfectly? And that problem is like, oh, cool. Thank you for the ticket. I appreciate that. Like I choose to believe that you pulling me over and giving me this ticket actually prevented me from getting in a major car accident 200 feet down the road. It's like, thank you, officer. I appreciate you.
That way of being, first of all, you live with yourself and your own thoughts. So it's healthier, you're feeling better.
Yeah.
But actually results of things, it happens much easier and much more natural. And that's actually, if you think of it like a puzzle,
Yeah.
that's actually the right way. What I've seen people truly highly successful. Like you'll see the people in business that are one way. I've talked to many people. They'll have almost a buy an exit or an exit. They'll sell the business or right after. But what they do, they took everything and they paid every price and they burned every bridge to get there, and they lost their soul on their way. I'll see that so many times.
Then they have to repair.
I have to
They have to
repair,
go
and
back.
that'll take years.
Yeah. And now they're old.
And now they're old.
Yeah.
That's correct, because all we have is time.
Yeah. And then you would give your 50 million back in a second to be 25 again.
That's correct. If the message here, if we can figure out a way that people, they can have high success holistically, really being in love. You talk about the love, right? Because you're like, oh, you got to be this business person and do that. I'm constantly saying you don't, because more people will want to be around you.
Correct.
And more things will come to you if love is abundant.
Yeah.
Stay in that space, but you talk straight. The truth, as I say, the truth shall set you free. From your journey, how can you give that message to the audience? Because that's super important.
Yeah. Well, what I think is what we are talking about is the energy substrate that you are utilizing to navigate your vehicle through the world from. And if the energy substrate is a renewable resource, such as what we're talking about, like can you really come from a place of compassion? Can you really come from a place of love? Can you really come from a place of, cool, no matter what happens, like I choose to believe that this is happening through me and for me instead of to me. Victim it's just not a part of my operating. You can't do anything to me. I believe that as a 0 to 15-year-old, I'm pretty much just kind of a victim to my world. Like, it's like whatever my parents have going on, it's like, sucks, but it's true. Like you really are. And then you got to unwind that, or hopefully your parents didn't have a bunch of subconscious, stuff that now you have 30 years of therapy and 4 divorces and a bunch of sabotage and all these issues to unwind because you're carrying the torch of your parents' subconscious. So ideally that's the situation. But once you're in the world and you're not being caretaken for, because you actually are, pretty defenseless, like as a 7-year-old, once you're in that place, I think as soon as you can come into that place of like, I am responsible, I cannot be a victim. I think that is immediately starts to kind of shift the octane that you put into the fuel that you have. And if you can come into that place of like, cool, we're building the empire and we're going to make, the exit and all the different things. I don't really care. Like, I don't need this. Oh my God. Now you are really powerful. You're not a slave anymore.
Freedom.
Yeah. So now, cool, let's build the empire. Let's 10x it. Let's 100x it. I don't care. But I'm going to play the game brilliantly. But I am never owned by the game. I create the game. So the energy substrate that you are operating from becomes magnetic because people don't like being around a slave because people don't want to be a slave. So if you can be like a Rick Rubin type figure, or some of the sort, then there's kind of like this energetic thing where it's like, you're brilliant, but a part of your brilliance is like your relaxation in a way. And you can be methodical and obsessive, but it's like, it seems like it's coming from this place of kind of non-attachment and love. Wow.
What would you say is the common denominator of people that you've actually met that you feel have a good sense of alignment, that they are aligned?
Well, so this whole conversation has mostly been like pretty, metaphysical. This is all physical. Everything we're talking about is physical because your nervous system is what's governing all your systems. So if you were chronically walking around in a state of fear or contraction or resistance or shame or guilt or anxiety, whatever the thing is, I will not be enough until I get to that point, your system always goes, it's a little tight. Your sphincters are a little tight. That affects the way that you relate to the world. Something that I was doing a podcast with somebody I was talking to. I host a podcast as well, called Line Podcast. Talk about stuff like this with people that are much more brilliant than I am. We're all brilliant in our own right. Viewing life itself as a romantic relationship. So if you can come back to the way that you relate to life itself, like Gestalt therapy, objectify the concept of the universe or God or life itself. So you are not alone. It is this concept of you in relation to life itself, to the universe. What is and it's a romantic, it's your partner. What is your relationship like to life itself? Do you trust it? Do you judge it? Do you hate it? Do you love it? Do you have compassion towards it? Do you see God within it? That, I think, is something, because a lot of people deal with loneliness. I experience loneliness. And that's something that the more that I can come back into that relationship of like, interesting. How do I relate to universe or God or source energy itself? And I think if we can start from that point of just experimenting, like, okay, cool. Like, I'm just going to run this experiment. I'm in relationship with life itself. Like, what's it like? Like, write it out on paper. What are the stories that I have about life? Is life safe? Is it exciting? Is it a wild, amazing adventure? What are your stories like with your romantic partner? Is there crossover in that? What are your stories like with your business? What are your stories like with your kids? So your kids and your partner and your business and all that, those are kind of external circumstances, which ultimately are rooted in your own, creation and manifestation of them. But I believe you can come back and get to the root of all of this stuff through examining your relationship with the universe or life or source or God itself. And if you can come into that place where you actually feel, surrendered to life or trust, you have faith in life. Like, imagine being in a romantic relationship with somebody and like, or this bitch is cheating. I know she's cheating, or I know he's cheating. Like, what does that do to your nervous system in that relationship? You feel tight. Every time she walks in the room, you get tight. What does that do to the flow of blood through your body? What does that do to the flow of lymphatic fluid through your body? What does that do to the flow of the electricity through your nervous system, your neurons, your synapses, your pelvic floor? So the adult diaper industry is exceeding that of the baby diaper industry due to pelvic floor issues, right? And also baby boomers, people are getting older, so there's that too. But that's not right. That's not okay. And so we're addressing, we have access to more healthcare than we ever have in the history of ever. We have access to more technology than in the history of ever. We have all of the things, but yet we still have all of these manifestations of disease. And so if you can come back in and say like, okay, like what are some of like what's my internal landscape like? Are there ways that I'm chronically contracted? If I'm chronically contracted in resistance, then I will create stasis. Stasis creates toxicity. Toxicity creates disease. This thing that I have forming in my body, I call it whatever symptom, whatever pathology, whatever I label it as, perhaps that pathology or symptom is actually there to protect me or compensate or support something within me. And at a deep subconscious level, there's some blockage. And you could go back to like Wilhelm Reich as an example of this. He has a thing called orgone therapy. So you call it, he came up with a term or concept, orgone energy, which is like your energetic life force that moves through your body. If you hold on, he calls it personality armor. So when we hold on to emotional baggage or tension in our life, it manifests as tension in our body. Mm. So someone hurts us, someone does a thing, it makes us feel a way. There was a moment we wanted to cry, we wanted to yell, we wanted to express out that energy. We didn't, we just held it in. We were like a big boy. We stayed strong, we stayed stoic. That energy from those moments, they get held in the body. The body keeps the score. It's Bessel van der Kolk. The issues are in the tissues. That's somebody else. And then we move around the world and we're holding on to this weight that ultimately is blocking the flow of energy through our body. If we can release and open the flow of energy through our body, such as when you're drunk at a wedding and you're dancing, like many modern Americans and people in general, they're so stiff and stuck because they're so linear and 90 degree the whole freaking day. That's never happened in history. We squat and we lunge and we kneel and we have sex and we connect and we live in, circular houses and we don't lock the door and we lean on our community or tribe. And if there's an issue, we have to address it because we're all together. That it's a lot harder for the system to get stuck, the energetic system, the physical system to get stuck. So we're always producing entropy and disorganization.
Yeah.
And if we can release that energy through releasing the ways that we contract or restrict ourselves, that energy can flow. And then your body becomes a conduit for creation.
Very aware. And I want to just tell you this. You talk about the loneliness. And I was thinking about the human being a herd species. So if you conform, which is what they tell you in the school system and as we're taught, because we just want to belong. We have a general sense of belonging. But if you're a curious person and you've gone through, you're an empath or you just feel a lot, because I find highly intelligent, curious people lonely. And eventually you'll find your people. It's hard. And it's unknown, and you got to ground in unknown for a very long period. But on the other side is something really special. So again, you stay in who you are, because each one of us, we have to accept that acceptance again, has our individual story and journey. There's no two stories alike.
Yeah, and that's actually the thing that makes it beautiful. That's the reason that we celebrate musicians and actresses and actors and those who create art, kind of ironically, kind of not, are paid better than anybody outside of like Bilderberg Society and the people like reptile people that like run the world.
Sure.
But within the confines of this system, the artist is actually praised the most and paid the best. It's because they're communicating an ineffable sensation that culture wants to feel and wants to express and wants to be seen in, and they just want to be seen. Yeah. And so if you have the courage to just freaking keep it real, which can be a process because there's so much baggage that you don't even realize you're holding on to. So your idea of like, cool, I'm going to be authentic. You don't even know what authentic is yet because there's so many layers of mass that you're holding on to. And the journey of those layers of mass starting to melt away typically is pain. It's like the fire that burns those away until eventually, like, this is why I love like Alcoholics Anonymous or like Sex Addicts Anonymous or like any Addict Anonymous thing. Amazing. Because you go into that situation and everyone's just like, bro, I mess everything up. I messed up my relationship. I got in this car accident. Like, I'm like, as bad as I could, rock bottom, son.
Yeah. I almost bought a drug and alcohol rehab facility. And in the due diligence, I sat in an AA meeting and I came back and I told my family, I'm like, that was from as a little child. I'm like, that's real. Everything else.
So nice.
Everything
it's so
else
relieving. I don't care. Like, great. Yeah. You drive a Bugatti. I get it. Awesome. I love you. You're enough.
That's it. If the whole world, and I said, what? And I have this like perception, right? You can dream very big. The whole world should be exactly that. Every day, always, all the time. That. Because none of it's real.
And then build atop of that.
Yeah.
But you will need to reverse engineer the castles and the empires that you build because you'll be unfulfilled and you will have to seek out your second mountain.
That's right.
And the second mountain will be fulfillment, and the fulfillment will not be in any of the material goals that you had.
That's right. None of it actually matters because it's all what people programmed that what it should be. And the things that fill me, first of all, it's the movie and the meditation that I've created. Now, I'm so grateful that I've been able to create a movie in my meditation that basically that emotion fills me. completely, fills my cup completely without anything here in the physical world.
Yeah.
So I'm so grateful I was able to reach
Yeah.
this place.
And then build on top of that.
yes.
Get the Bugatti. Love it.
But I want to tell you, Aaron, really, thank you. Thank you. It's really been great. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Gives me inspiration.
Why does it give you inspiration?
Because to see, again, to that loneliness place, to see other people striving, working, having that, right? Having to live in their existence, in their place, being different, right? Because the things that you think and functioning the way that you go, but you're grounded. You're in a good spot. So for me, I'm like, okay, this is great. It gives me the ability to be more and more authentic, more and more myself. So thank you.
I love that.
So I appreciate that.
So everything we talked about all goes into your nervous system, autonomic nervous system, all that stuff. Breathing is the most, we didn't talk about it, but breathing is the most apparent, accessible, physical tool that we have access to regulate our nervous system immediately. So something I've experienced, in relationships, for example, is seeing us degrade into like reactive behavior, where we're essentially like two little kids, like barking at each other. In those situations, for example, if you were to pay attention to your breath is going to be short, it's going to be shallow, it's going to be up in your chest. If you're really anxious and really pissed off, you might even start mouth breathing. You are tuning your nervous system all the time to the way that you breathe. And if you want to be calm, if you want to be collected, if you want to be creative, if you want to be well-regulated, your breath is the fastest thing. Go outside, learn how to breathe. Eyes are very powerful as well. If folks are interested in learning about their breath, there's a free week where we teach you how to breathe. It's something that's like not taught hardly at all, which is really amazing. So opening up your nasal passages, opening up your diaphragm, finding alignment in your ribs and your pelvis and all that, so that you actually have a system, a container that is able to get air well. That's what people learn in that first week, and that's at alignbreathing.com, alignbreathing.com. And that would be the thing that I would like, contribute or would love for people to check out if there was something, because breath is like, it's absurd that we don't get education on that. I'm actually going to El Salvador in a couple weeks to potentially introduce breathing and nervous system regulation to the El Salvadorian school systems, which is cool. So we're working on building a program for El Salvador, which is like they recently came out of like this gang war-torn country. Now it's actually, they've done like a 180-degree shift with things, which is amazing. Yeah. But introducing breathing and nervous system regulation into youth is something I'm very excited about. And breath is the thing that if you're feeling whatever type of way, you can change the way that you feel within seconds by understanding how to utilize your breath as a tool. So that's what alignbreathing.com is. And yeah, that's something that'd be
and the Align podcast, right? Your podcast.
Oh yeah, his podcast called Align Podcast.
All right. Align Method, your book. Right?
Book's called Align Method.
Well, thank you, Aaron.
Yeah.
I really, really, really appreciate it. Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Thank you. If you haven't already, please take a moment to hit that subscribe button on your favorite podcast platform. Subscribing ensures you never miss an episode, and it helps us continue to bring you meaningful conversations that make a difference. Thank you for being part of our growing community. We couldn't do this without you. Have a great day, and I'll talk to you again soon.